Coming in? Yeah, I'll stand back here with you. I got a microphone. Oh, yeah, I got it in my pocket. I'll turn it off.
Oh. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July Bonsai Society meeting. We got lots of folks here today, a lot of new folks. My name's Phil Horney. I'm the president of the society. So welcome all of you. We've got Mark Fields here with us today doing a demo. And I've got a couple announcements and things to do before we get started. So since there's a lot of new folks here that I don't know, let's start on this side. And if this is your first meeting, just tell us your name, where you're from. Do you have any bonsai? Have you killed any bonsai? We'd love to know. Oh, yes. Excellent. It's still alive. Excellent. Awesome. Love to see pictures of it. All right, who else we got over here? Are you with Carol? Oh, nice. Well, welcome. You have? Yeah. Yes. It's par for the course. All right, let's go on this side. Who we got here? Yeah. Are they all frankincense, though? Are they all frankincense, though? That's the question. I think people would love to have those. Okay. Sure. The next meeting is the white elephant sale, so that would be a great time to bring them. So Bob and I met at the Crone on a Saturday. He brought in his really awesome frankincense tree, which has probably a 2-inch trunk on it, and we did a bunch of work and styling on it, and then there were cuttings for everybody, and so yeah, it's a neat tree. Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm glad. And they're really cool trees. Plus, they smell amazing. So anyway, welcome. All right. Nice. Oh yeah, you just right down the road. So you're doing a good job of keeping your forest watered, because they need a lot of water right now. So, all right. Yeah, great. And we talked online. So yeah, welcome. Who else we got? I think that's it. All right. Well, let's move along. The beginners workshop is next weekend on Saturday. We still need, I think, 1 or 2 helpers. So if you've got time on Saturday, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but if you've got time on Saturday the 25th from about 12:30 to 4 p.m., we really need help with the beginners classes. So if you can make it, that's great. As I mentioned, August is the White Elephant Sale. It takes the place of our regular meeting, and it starts a little bit earlier, so it's from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Members are welcome to sell their unused, unneeded, unwanted, hopefully unbroken pieces of bonsai equipment, pottery, trees, whatever you've got that you don't want and like to get rid of. Part of the proceeds come back to the society, so that kind of helps sustain the society and helps us keep growing. Anybody can buy from the sale, but only members can sell. So if you visit the website, you'll see the forms to sign up to sell. What's coming up? Like I said, next month is the White Elephant Sale, September 17th. For that meeting, we have our member, Don Brown, who he was here, but he left. Oh, okay. Got something else going on. He's doing the demo on the Thursday meeting, and he is doing pine. So he'll be talking about all things related to growing pine as bonsai. That's like his forte. He really loves pines, and so that's what he likes doing. And then the workshop on the following Saturday will be on pines as well. And so you'll get a tree, and then it will be the standard workshop. I haven't posted it on the website yet, but I will before the next newsletter goes out at the beginning of next month. And then, of course, October is the fall show. And so hopefully your trees are all getting ready for the show. They're all looking good, getting trimmed, and get your topsoil on. And I see Judy's laughing. Well, it's like yeah, well, yeah, maybe. Depends if you water them enough. All right, so our headliner tonight is Mark Fields. Mark has been around bonsai for 58 years, and he just turned 67, so he's been doing it for a long time. He's traveled all over the world. He is out of Indianapolis, and he's got a really nice nursery there. If you've not been, give him a call, set up a time to go out and visit. He's got some amazing trees out there, and whose tree is that back there? That's not yours, is it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Anyway, he has traveled around the world. He, at one point in time, was the president of the American Bonsai Society, and he's studied in Japan and knows a whole lot about bonsai. He loves to teach. We do have the workshop that he's doing this Saturday. However, it's sold out. So if you missed out on getting a tree for the workshop, our friends at Reminiscent Herb Farm have brought extra trees. They're in the back, so if you'd like to purchase one or two, please visit them. And then also Mark has brought some things with him. Yeah, so he's got a couple of Itoigawa junipers here, and what are you? 150 a piece, and they've got really nice trunks on them, really. Yeah, so, yeah. All right, and of course, we're raffling the trees off or whatever he works on at the end of the meeting. So if you'd like to buy chances, Leo will be, or me, will be taking your money for chances in the back. So come stop by and visit. There are 6 for $5 or $1 a piece. And with that, let's welcome Mark.
Or turn this on now. Is it working?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, just put it in the pocket. Okay. So I'm going to style one of these guys, and then like I said, I know I'll get done with it very quickly. How long do I have till 9 o'clock? Yeah, so I bet I get 2 of them done. But yeah, all these have really nice curve. I don't know if you can see those really well, but very nice curves in the trunk. Oh, you can zoom in on that. But look at the. And then some of those, I've got a couple that are going to be more of a semi-cascade. But both of these have really, really nice curves in them. So we'll go ahead and start on this one. Any questions before I get started? Because I'm going to move along pretty quickly on these. Yeah, my son came down with me. He just graduated last month or so. He's out exploring and taking pictures and stuff, taking photographs. He's got his good camera where he loves to do that kind of thing. He used to come with me to part. Yeah, when they're about, I don't know, 1/4 inch in diameter, do you put wire on them and get that bend in them? Don't let. I mean, I have some that have cut in really hard. I don't really care about that. That actually gives a little bit of character when you can kind of pull the bark down, create some shari to hide that as well. But they will fill in those furrows within 2 to 3 years, so I don't really worry about on a juniper or a pine. Deciduous trees are different because deciduous trees take forever to heal up, and sometimes those scars will be on there forever. Yeah, but junipers, they do fill in pretty well. Itoigawa is my very favorite juniper species to work on because I've got Itoigawa, Kishu, regular Shimpaku, and Fudo Shimpaku. Fudo Shimpakus are pretty, but because they're a really light blue color, but they have a little more coarse foliage on them and they tend to grow upright. So it's really tough to get the branches to come down, but they are very pretty foliage on them. Kishus are very much like this. They're a little bit more green. They're going to be a little more coarse than these, but not as coarse as a Shimpaku. Shimpaku is kind of the telltale sign of those is they'll get really, when you feed them heavy, they'll get really long branches on them and like hardly any foliage, very little foliage out on the branch itself. They'll have a little tuft on the end. They just keep extending and you don't get, so again, Itoigawa is my very favorite because they have this really fine foliage. It's a kind of a lime green color. And they ramify well. You can create the pads and really fill up the pads very quickly. Again, one of my favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and clean it up here first. Decide what I want to keep and what I don't. I do always like to put some gin on it someplace. I don't know, this one is pretty much set the way. Yeah, we can do it. I'll look in here. Yeah. So I'm going to make this a gin over here. So I'll cut these. Now, I tell people how easily, I've got hundreds of these started from cuttings at home. I don't use rooting hormone. I just stick them in waste akadama or pumice to start them. Stuff this size here is how these started out. So about like that. So if anybody wants these cuttings as I take off, please don't hesitate to grab them because you'll have a whole lot more of them. About 6 or 7 years, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for food. There you go. Yep. 6 or 7 years in the ground or in a pot? In a pot, the whole time. Yeah, the whole time in a pot, sitting up on a bench. So, and I probably have 150 6-inch ones right now, 6-inch pots, and they're all about a little bit smaller than pencil size, and I'm going to, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be putting some movement in those. Now, I am saving some because a lot of people want whips so they can do tanukis, phoenix grafts, and all those sell very quick. I just sold one this week. It's like, I don't want to sell them. I think I need to hide them somewhere in my nursery so I can get them, 2-3 feet long, because they always buy them. They'll come in and get them about a foot tall because they need one to make a tanuki or they add a branch to a tanuki or something like that. So I have to start controlling that. I'm super feeding them this year to get some size on them very quickly. They're responding well to it. That's why somebody came about one the other day. So, but I need to put them in a separate place.
What do you like to super feed them?
lots of different things. So I can use the Peters 20-20-20. I guess Peters, right? Jack's now. Jack's 20-20-20. I also have something I just started this year. You can use Osmocote. You can use, because it lasts for 6 months or so. Grow Power is one that's really good too. It lasts, it's supposed to last a year. I've seen it last 3 months or so, is all it does. It ends up breaking down in the soil. But all of those I use to pump up plants. And I only use them in nursery containers. I don't put them on my finished bonsai. And this has NutriCoat that I put on this year. It's something new I found out. So a lot of the growers went from Osmocote to NutriCoat, and they'll kind of switch them back and forth every year. So it looks just like the Osmocote, only it's white. So yeah, and it's working really well. The plants are responding well to it. Everything's growing well. So this soil is a pine bark base, because that's what I had, and that's what I grow a lot of the cuttings and stuff in once I get it. I'm trying to just use what I call the waste akadama. In the spring when I repot stuff, I don't throw it away. I used to dump it out in my growing beds. I got rid of the growing beds, so now I'm saving it in 5-gallon buckets. I got like 6 buckets of it. So that's what I'm putting in it now, putting them in now. So it has some, it's the blend, so it has the 2 different types of pumice. The akadama is pretty much broken down, but it still works really well for keeping moisture in them and letting them grow. They've responded really well to it. So let's do this.
So you're doing a lot of work on this tree, and it's super hot out. What kind of aftercare do you need to do?
I put them out on the bench.
Nothing. Just water, the usual.
Put them back. Put them back where they were. Yep. And this, I do starting in July on through August, September. I do a lot of work on juniper. So there's, I use them all the time. And I even repot this time of year too. I don't recommend that, but if the aftercare is right, you can do that. Yeah, well, junipers and a lot of the pines. So Scots pines are hardened off now. Japanese white pines are hardened off now. Ponderosas are hardened off. So a lot of those things I just started feeding this month. Haven't fed them all year because I don't feed them at all until they get hardened off after the spring flush, and they harden off. So I've just now put the feed bags on all those. I only use organic fertilizer on those, on my trees, except for the stuff I'm growing on. And I only water with rainwater. I've got a 1,200-gallon rainwater system at my place too. So.
I just want to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just taking the bark off.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, you're one of the new guys? Yeah, I heard you say bonsai, and we always say bonsai because bone is pot-sized tree. But we take this off. We're trying to create elusive age, right? Yeah. So we're getting rid of branches we don't really need. I usually pull that bark all the way off down to the base of it. So this is called gin. That's called shari. When you have gin come up to the top of the tree and has several branches of it, that's called tenjin. So tenjin, gin, and then shari. You can clean the bark off. So on my larger junipers, I'll clean the bark off if I'm going to show it. And it turns into sort of a cinnamon color, really pretty smooth bark on it. Now some people don't like that, so they will just keep the rough bark on it. But I try to keep that rough bark off of it because insects can get in it. It's just a place to harbor stuff like that. So I just try to get rid of that kind of stuff. These ginning pliers work pretty good for getting it off, but this had a lot of branches along it, so it's kind of tough to get off here. I was telling somebody else, my daughter, I have twins, so they're 18 years old. My older son's out right now, but my daughter, she's getting ready to go to University of Cincinnati here. She starts in August. We move her on the 18th, and she starts on the 24th. School of Finance. She wants to be a financial advisor. Yes. about 70%, or I've done even more than that. So about 70%, it's completely safe. Same with the bark. When you're making gin and shari coming down the trunk, you can remove up to 70% of that bark off the outside too. Yeah, so. I always forget. If anybody wants to take it, they are welcome to. Go for it. And we'll get the same picture here in a little bit. So. I do. I forget all the time. I get just about through with the tree. Yeah, so. My knife out here.
So how much wiring have you done on this tree prior to tonight?
Just once.
Just once?
Just
when it
once.
was small, and that's how you get the curve in the trunk?
Yep,
and
that's
then
it. That's why you can see all these other branches coming up. And that hasn't been wired at all. Yeah, I'll move all those, no, not all of them. The ones that are like going into their third year, I'll move them into 1-gallon pots next year. I forgot to use I'm gonna get one. I've got the Morrow, Morrow was selling them. They're called Rudy Bonds, and they're for skinning bark. But I forgot the one I use, so. If anybody wants any of them, but they're just a loop that's sharp on both sides, so you pull it and it removes the bark off the trees. So they're made in Italy by a friend of mine named Rudy. Pardon me? Oh yeah, if you want. So they real nice. Here, I'll get something so you can see it. But a nice loop there, very sharp. It'll take your skin off just as well as the bark. So, and I say that with, I've had that experience because I used to have my son Lincoln go with me whenever I did these things, and he would always do the gin and shari for me. And there was one where I was wiring the tree, and he was doing the gin, and he caught me across the knuckles and across the top of my hand. So it works really well. Pardon me? It'll get you right. It didn't get me on that one, but it could have. And we were at Brussels when that happened, so we were at the stage at Brussels for one of the rendezvous that I dearly miss. Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Bleach that bone out. Yeah. Here's a good way to kind of pull it back to make it look a little more natural. Is I'll just grab a piece of it with the concaves and just rip it, keep folding it back like that. And again, I got my knife out, so I'm going to bring this, I'm going to cut this down a little bit so I can get to it. I'm going to clean up that scar, the shari going down the trunk. This is my waste can? Good. I was telling them I'd never seen lanternfly, but I've got the DNR from Indiana, warning people about it, and I heard they're in Cincinnati. I didn't know they were like that. I mean, there are 1,000 of them out there where I was parked. I've never seen that many, never seen them in my life, but to see that many, that's kind of scary. Lanternflies? Yeah. I had only seen pictures, so. I don't know. What do you use to control them? Stephanie? Richard?
We use to control spotted lanternfly.
What is it called? I'm sorry?
Spotted lanternfly. They're Chinese invasive and just kill the shit out.
Yes.
I've seen them. I live in Kentucky and they've become more invasive there.
Well, I've heard, yeah, that if you see them, you want to crush them. I know how to recognize them. I know how to recognize their egg masses and stuff like that. I just never seen anything like that. Yeah. Imidacloprid, yeah. And that gets a lot of things, so. It'll probably end up being about that much. Probably more like 50 to 60, but it'll be up there. I'll make another gin here. I'm going to make it shorter, but I may do this and then curl it. That's always a really interesting way to do it as well. There we go. Okay, so there's 2 gins. All right, now I'm going to clean off the bottoms of the branches on the limbs. I'm going to wire. So and fire away with questions. I kind of get into these and get lost in them, so you can wake me up by just asking me a question. So.
So you just remove any branches on the inside of curves? Or?
Yeah, that type of things. And I try to get alternating branches. So I'll go down the branch. If I can, I will cut and make every other branch on every side. I do flatten these out in the initial styling, and then they will fill up. So. Not very long. I mean, you can, and a lot of people used to say pinch them, but you never want to pinch a juniper. You always want to cut them. Yeah. So I'll show you how to do that once I get this all done. But yeah, you basically, all these things that are growing long, we're going to leave them long for right now. I'll probably cut off just a few of them, but you want to keep those cut. And I'll just, as an example here, if it's growing up past the pad, you cut it back to the pad inside of it to where you still have some green behind it, and then those will do the same thing. So if you can imagine just the future with those, each of these extend, you cut those back, each of those you get more that extend, so it just fills that branch up completely, so where you can't even see through it. So, but these back bud really well, yes, very well. Yeah, a lot of people use Itoigawa and Kishu both to graft onto other junipers, whether it be Rocky Mountains, because I hate the foliage on Rocky Mountain junipers. I've got a Blue Alps at home that I'm going to put on as well. So Prostrata, all those that have really San Jose, a lot of people get a really nice trunk on them. And there was a guy out in California named Mas Ishii. He died several years ago. His son, Gary Ishii, still does it. But he used to develop really nice trunks on San Jose junipers, because they do. They get fantastic, make deadwood, but he would graft Kishu onto those. And you can still find them out here, and kind of the way you could recognize his trees, all his little ones, they'd be about this size here, but they come up and have this real tight turn in them, like a really, almost, not a knot, but it was a really tight curve. and then they came straight again, and then the tree got top. So you'll still see some of those out there. I've seen big ones, I've seen little ones, but that's kind of it's definitely a telltale sign that that's one of his trees. So. Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Whoever gets this tree, leave it in here. Now, like I said, I will probably repot mine. If nobody wants to buy that other one, I'll repot it, because that's what I'll be doing those. I'll be repotting them, and sometime, this is summer, what we call summer dormancy period. So it's good and hot out. They really aren't growing anymore actively. So it's a pretty good time to do that. But again, you gotta kind of know what you're doing with them. So I would recommend waiting until March myself. So somebody started to ask a question, maybe? No. Stephanie did? Yeah. Did you start to ask? Still growing? Well, obviously mine are too, but I still wouldn't hesitate to do it. So.
How long do you leave it in that kind of pot? Just putting it like a bonsai pot?
It depends on what you want to do. Again, once we get it styled, it's ready to put in a bonsai pot. But again, just to be safe, I wouldn't recommend until doing it next year. And you'd take it out of this pot, and you'd cut half the root ball off, work the roots, get all that soil. The peat-based soil, the bark-based soil out as much as you can. Always leave a core of it in there, though, underneath the tree, because that's where it gets beneficial bacteria and fungus and stuff like that that helps the tree grow. So I would keep some of it in the core of it, just kind of keep that core root ball. And then I use an Akadama blend. So it's a blend of pumices. It's got Akadama, Kiryu, and Hyuga in it. And I know Reminiscent sells it, right? And I sell it. And so, of course, they're much closer, so buy it from them.
What's that blend called?
Pardon me? Yeah, what I have back there is called Bonsai Blend, is all it is. So the stuff I like the best is Aki Blend, A-O-K-I, Aki Blend. That's my favorite. It's really expensive right now, getting it in the country. So now it has Akadama, Kiryu, and Hyuga as well, right? So, but what I've heard is there's one guy that makes it for the whole world. That's all he does. And he got hurt last year about this time, and they didn't make any for the fall. So he didn't get to start making it again or sifting it and put it into mixing the components together till later in the winter, so that they had some available. So I was able to get a pallet earlier this year, but expensive. The shipping is just everything. So I've been going with the Bonsai Blend, and I found it just as good. So, and it's $15 cheaper a bag. So. Yeah. So I'm going to do something creative here at the top too. I'm going to create the gin. I'm going to gin this part of the tree up here. Always do the gin first, though, because if you do happen to pull Mashari down the trunk, you can't do it with wire when there's wire over the top of it. So. You want me to tell you this story? Okay.
I mean, I'm curious because everybody has their own story.
Exactly. And so I have my story, and I tell it every place I go, and I didn't know if anybody, I've still told it here before, I know. So when I was 8 or 9 years old, my dad had a landscape business, and down the street from where I grew up, there was a nursery about 6 doors down, and Walter Line owned it. It's called Line's Nursery. He was in his 70s, old crotchety guy, you know, he didn't want you, yeah, but he saw that I stepped out of the truck one day and stepped on some Yugo pines he was training in the ground, right? So he had strings tied on them, rocks, you know, nuts and bolts hanging from him to pull the branches down, no wire, but that's how he was training them. So I was curious about him, so he actually told me about him and told me to start coming over, so I would go over every day. He taught me how to take cuttings and how to grow from seed, and you know, just how to trim the trees, when to trim them, when to repot, you know, things like that. So he kind of gave me the basics of everything. I did, so he loaned me 2 books from the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens book. I think Miniature Potted Trees, one of them, and there's another one. But those 2 books or pamphlets I read cover to cover when I was a kid, and reluctantly gave them back to him, right? And then if you fast forward, and what I used to do, so when my dad got home from landscape jobs, I'd pull stuff that he ripped out and plant it, put it in a pot, and try to grow it. Well, most everything died because he's not pulling them to save them, right? He's pulling them to throw them in the dumps. So a few things made it, a few things didn't. Most things did not. So again, fast forward about 10 years, I got married the first time when I was 19 and moved into a double. And next door to the double, there was an older couple living there. And the guy came over one day in the spring, because I moved in October, so I was getting my stuff out and putting bonsai out and had a lot of cactus and stuff. And he came over and said, so tell me a story. How'd you learn? I see you do bonsai. How do you do it? How'd you learn to do this? And so I started, I told him the same story I just told you. And he says, let me go get my wife. So he went and got his wife, and she came and said, can you tell her the story too? So I went back to the whole story again. And so she said, oh, wait a minute. And so she went in the house and got those 2 books and brought them out. And she said, are these them? I said, that's them. She says, these are them. My dad was Walter Line. Right? Yeah. So that is a true story. I didn't make that up. Yeah. And she asked me to go over and trim. Her dad used to start yews, and that's what he specialized in, taxus. So he had all different types of yews, but his favorite were Hicks yews, which go straight up. And they had planted one on each side of his headstone. And she said, is there any way you can go over to the cemetery and trim those back for me? They were massive. I did what I could, but they were probably 8 feet tall, and you know, hiding the stone, so I trimmed it away from the stone, but they were just huge. But they were trees he had started. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yep, that's how it started though. So since then I've studied in Japan 3 times, and then with Bjorn Bjorholm in 2015 was still over there studying, so he made it so I could go over there during the winter, because they didn't usually have students in the winter. They're usually getting ready for the Kokofu and some of the other shows that happen during the winter. And but he talked to his sensei and made it so I could go over there. So I went over for the whole month of January and about half of February in 2015. So luckily I was there for the Kokofu, so I got to see the Kokofu for the first time. But yeah, I got an apartment. Yeah, they had an apartment ready for me. They rented a bike. Now, of course, I ended up paying for all that, but it was really reasonable for that whole time I was over there for the room and board and studying. It was $1,600. Yeah, so you can't really complain about that. And I learned so much. And it wasn't that they teach you there. You better know something about it before you come in there, and Bjorn knew I did. So it was more of a critiquing type thing. So they had a pile of trees for me to work on every single day, that you know, stuff this size. But as they saw, as his sensei, Oyakata is what they call him, the father over there, as he saw that I knew what I was doing, they give you better and better trees. So I got some really fantastic trees towards the end. So, and couldn't bring any of them home. That's the bad part. But yeah, it was a very a great opportunity. But before that even, I studied with Danny Hughes in Larne, Belgium. It's Ginkgo Bonsai Nursery. He's on Facebook as Ginkgo Bonsai, I think is what it is, or Danny Ginkgo on Facebook. But what was funny, the first time I went over there was 2004, and I showed up. I was over there, my wife, we both worked for Eli Lilly and Company in Indianapolis, and we went over there for business. I didn't have much business to do, so I just basically had most of the time off. My wife worked, and I'd just drop her off at work in the morning, then I'd go out and kick around, again, at his nursery. So the first, I did get a hold of him and see if I could come over, went over there and studied, and I didn't really study with him, I introduced myself. What I did though is I went in the nursery and started taking pictures, and his wife came out and said, "You're not allowed to take pictures." And she like grabbed my camera, she said, "I'll keep this until you get ready to leave. I want you to delete all the pictures you took on there." So I had to go through delete them all, the digital pictures, and get them off there. It was funny. Then Danny came out, he gave me the camera back, he says, "Take all the pictures you want." She didn't have the right to tell you that. But he said, "Just don't post them anywhere." Well, and that was the thing. He didn't want to post on Facebook, social medias, because people would see it. That's what he's doing pretty much every day now. But back then, he did not want that advertised. Anything in that nursery he did not want shown on Facebook. So, but yeah, I went over there in 2004, 2005, and then 2009 to study with him. And I studied for 2 weeks, was the longest I was there. But that's why I learned about the properties of akadama, which changed everything. The use of rainwater to water your trees. I've got a 1,200-gallon rainwater system that I use at my place. But yeah, it changed everything about my plants, everything about my trees when I started studying with those guys. So there, so it's all ready to wire. All right, let me clean up the mess. Oh, well, just leave it then. Okay. So there it is. Did anybody want a few of these cuttings or not? Okay, I'll get the ones that are worth saving. No, Lincoln, he just walked in a little bit ago. He did, like, no, I have a 42-year-old daughter, a 39-year-old son, and then 18-year-old twins. Both of the boys, my son that's 39 now, he always went to me to do workshops, help me with demos and stuff like that, really into it, until he's about 12 or 13 years old, right? Now Lincoln started out, I've got pictures of him when he was like 3 years old working on my trees. He'd go out and trim stuff for me. I had him in the middle of my growing bed, trident maples that were all like over his head. He was in there cutting those back for me. He would defoliate trees. He would take wire off my trees. He was very much into it. I thought, sure, he's just going to follow this and do what I did. No, as soon as he got his license, that was it. So now this is all about his car. He still knows about it. He just doesn't care that much about it. So, yeah, I wish they did, and they probably never will. You know, it's just something that I've always done, and I've just never looked back. I've always had plants. Yeah, I had cactus before I had bonsai, so I started in cactus when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I'm gonna put those there, and I don't think there's any, yeah, here's another one. But if any of you guys have a chance to go to Japan sometime, have any of you been? I know you've been. You've been? Have you been to the Kokufu? Oh, got to go to that. I've been to Japan twice this year. I went for the 100th Kokufu, and then I took my family back. That's where the twins wanted to go for their spring break. So we were there for 2 weeks back in March into April. And just, yeah, they fell in love with it just like I did. But that's what they always wanted to do, because I told my daughter, I said, you can go with your friends down to Florida. I know that's what I'd have done when I was your age, but no, she wanted to go to Japan too. Now, it could be because we took her boyfriend with us too, but that might have been. And then Lincoln took his best friend as well.
Folks, there's
My
a
son.
little lizard right here, so if any of you want to run on down here, don't step on the
No, I won't step
Maybe
on.
we can send him outside. Do you see him right there?
I see him, yeah. Got him. Oh, got him.
Oh, good, yeah.
That's a chameleon. Yeah, I got it here. Okay. I think. Yeah, there we go. No, it's not a chameleon. Yeah. Look at that. Let me get Lincoln in here. I'll be right back. See if I can find him. Lincoln? Huh? A leopard lizard? Did you see back here?
He was sitting back there in the little car.
Until he gets back. When he comes in, he'll love to see that. No, it's already broken off when it was up there. So. Yep. Okay. Oh, good idea. So I prepped the tree. Yeah, do that. Thank you for remembering to do that. You want to take one too? Now my son has 2 bearded dragons at home. That's his pets, so he loves lizards.
We have plenty of raffle
Oh, yeah.
tickets in the back.
Yeah. Uh-huh, that's the front. Okay?
I don't want to be the only person with tickets in there.
They haven't seen the finished tree yet, so that's all.
Mark, why did you pick those branches?
Oh, they weren't where I wanted them. So if I had little branches so I have the ability to look at a tree and see it when it's done, when it's finished. So I look at the tree and I can eliminate anything that I know I'm not going to need in the initial design. So that's exactly what I did here. I will, on a juniper, pine, stuff like that, I will save branches just to be able to do that, you know. But deciduous trees, not so much. You just kind of eliminate everything there. I only use copper wire too when I wire trees. It holds the best. It almost like has a memory, so once you get the branch shaped, it's annealed copper wire, so the annealed copper wire is extremely soft because when they anneal it, you heat it up to a point where all the molecules align in one direction, makes it super soft. So, but the more you bend it, the harder it gets. So, you know, they usually roll it up first before they anneal it, so it's really good and soft right now. But as I'm taking it off the roll, and when I'm putting it on the tree, I'm messing up all that, all the molecular structure, so it gets very stiff. That's what's good for bonsai. So it's soft going on, but it holds the branch right where it is. So
do you use copper wire and deciduous?
everything. You don't have to, because it is significantly more expensive. But that's what I like to use. There it is. Mm-hmm.
How much are you going to grow back by the end of the season?
Oh, these pads will fill up quite a bit. If you just let these ends grow, they're going to probably grow another 2 or 3 inches. So they'll grow very quickly. Yes, exactly. That's why I don't recommend you guys repotting at this time of year. Just wait till it'll have a chance to recover from this work I've done to it before you repot. Yeah.
So once those tips extend out, you just
Yeah, so you can let them, so here's what you were to remember. You can thicken up these branches by letting them grow out really long. Like say this first branch wasn't very large, but you know the lowest branch needs to be the largest diameter branch. So you would let that branch, if it was just a small branch, you'd let that grow a couple feet long. That'll thicken this up back here. Now, saying that, that being said, you could still train the branch behind that to get the structure the way you want it, whether you want to put some movement in it, but just let an end grow from where you think that branch is going to be, and you just let it extend out, and that'll thicken that branch. And then once you get to the desired diameter, you cut that off back into the pad that you had originally planned on. And I'd say near the apex of the tree, sometimes you don't have any, it's all too floppy to grow. And I will leave really tiny branches and not wire them and just let them go for a year, and then they're ready to wire after a year. So yes, try to let them extend so that you get that type of thing. And then if you need branches along the trunk someplace, you can always let them grow, because they will. They'll flush out. They'll back bud a lot of different places. Wiring technique. I'm a stickler on wiring technique. I like to make sure that I never cross a wire, that I come, if you're going to bring a branch down, you come under hugging real close to the trunk, and then your first wrap on the wire is coming over the branch that you're in the direction you're going to bend it. So that's things to remember. No more than 3 wires together. You want to have the wires right next to each other as close as possible. You don't want, if you put 3 wires on, you don't want them all spaced apart. You want them as close as you can, close together as you can get them. So. It's not me, is it him? Making all that racket? Is it me? It's me, isn't it? Let me pull my shirt down here a little bit. Okay. Okay. That's better though, just pulling that down.
Is this the ultimate like final size for the bonsai? And then
That's,
letting it grow?
this is my size tree. So this is a little larger than shohin, Kifu size. So how I measure a tree for shohin for my composition is about this tall. The gin you could cut off to make it a shohin size. So it is pretty much a shohin size. You can let it get bigger if you want. You know, if you want to let the apex grow a little bit more, make it taller, you can. I just like shohin size trees. That's my favorite size. And that's what you'll mainly find in my nursery.
So like next summer you might move it to a bonsai pot.
Yes, next spring you move it to a bonsai pot. Yep, and you want an unglazed pot. That's kind of one of the rules. Rules can be broken, and I see it done a lot anymore. I've seen them in blue pots and red pots, but my wife calls me a bonsai purist. I always try to do stuff the way they do it in Japan, but even Japan is becoming more that way as well. They're pushing the limit on the size of the shohin. Bill Valavenis does too, because used to it was strictly under 8 inches tall. And he has let it go to 10 inches now, and the reason being, all of his shohin have gotten bigger. So he changed the rule. But we know Bill, and Bill can change the rules, right? Yeah, Bill's gutsy, because I've even done it. Had a composition completely set up, and stand back and look at it. He'll come up and start moving trees around in the rack. It's like, it just looks better this way. Okay, yeah. Some people get really upset with him doing that, but I know Bill, and that's just Bill. Hank, were you going to tell them about the Tree City show? I think this is a good time to do that because I'm not talking much. So.
I have some cards here you can pass around. I'm Jake Martin from Greenwood, Indiana. We're going to have a show the weekend after the Cincinnati show, so your trees will all be in show shape. We do offer cash prizes, so it's our incentive to come to Greenwood.
I can verify that because I've won a few of those. So. Yep.
I'm going to pass the card.
Are you going to do the wood ribbon stuff?
That guy went out of business.
I really liked those. I thought that was an amazing thing. And I've seen other shows copy that, so.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
When were they getting the ribbons in?
Oh, they were great.
So if you take these around, pass it. If it's something you might be interested in, it's going to be in October. We have a small art gallery on the square. That's where it's going to be at. So
It's a cool little town. I like it.
we've got the tree that grows in the tower. So
There's a great veterinarian in that town too, a couple of them, so.
well, they trimmed it. Yeah.
All right.
Hi, Mark. I heard that these junipers aren't really your favorite. I heard that and I could be wrong, that the Procumbens nana are your hands down favorite trees.
Stand Procumbens nana junipers. Yeah, thank you for that. No,
So-
those are my least favorite.
Yes. So for folks just getting started with junipers, why would you favor the Shimpaku or Itoigawa over
Just
the Procumbens?
Because they're not needly and stickery, for one thing. They ramify really well. They compact real well. I like the color, the texture, everything better than a Procumbens. I just do. Yeah. And when I say that, because when people bring a Procumbens to a workshop with me, they're an absolute disaster. Like, you got to cut everything back so much. And yeah, they just don't leave looking as good as they should. So I know they're cheap. You can buy them in garden centers, and that's what everybody likes to start out with. Those and dwarf Alberta spruce. Those are kind of the starters for everybody. So I understand why people have them, and I've seen some really nice ones. I don't have one in my collection at all. I just don't like them.
Right. So for the folks that are here, if you're wondering why his trees are $150 versus like a
Yeah.
$35 or $40 Procumbens that
Exactly.
you would get at a
That's
garden
right.
center, it's just the overall quality of the tree itself and how it's good for bonsai.
Very good. Good way to explain it. Yes, these do. Are you saying these have it? Yes. Oh, I know they do. That's one reason I don't mind working on these. My favorite ones to work on.
What's that called again?
This, Itoigawa. So it's Itoigawa. Itoigawa. And they're from the Itoigawa region in Japan. That's what they get their name from. Just like the Kishus are from the Kishu. Shimpaku, yeah, so Shimpaku grow all over there, and there's different varieties in different areas. So, and they all have a little bit different characteristic. They're all Juniperus Chinensis, Shimpaku, and then there's Itoigawa. Again, I have Itoigawa, Kishu, Fudo. So, and there's several other different varieties of those. So, I do not. So does Morrow. So, Morrow likes Kishu better as well. They're not awful, but they're just not my favorite.
What's the goal of the wiring and everything else?
Just, yeah, to set the tree where you want it, and then you leave the wire on for 2 years, right at 2 years, unless it starts cutting in fairly quickly, and then you could take it off and rewire it. So if the branches don't stay, and that generally is the problem why you would redo it, because they will kind of start cutting in, and then I like to let them rest for a while after I take the wire off. If they've cut in too much, that allows them to start healing and stuff like that. So
How much rest would that be?
a year, yeah. a year, at least a year.
So for this plant, you leave the wire on for
2 years, 2 years, 2 years, right. That, and when you take it off, it should be set. They should be completely set at that point, so.
So out of curiosity, relatively new,
Uh-huh.
the branches you gin, and since you just did that, can you wire them now? And
Yes.
they should put their
Yeah, that's why I did this. So you can bend it, and that's what I'm going to show you here, because I like to do these on the little trees like this. I'll create a little curl. And you think this, they don't do this, but they do this in nature as well. They'll make weird little curls like that. So there you go. So put a little curl in it. But you do have to do that when they're still wet. So within 1 or 2 days, yeah.
because they'll dry out and harden up.
Yeah, then you're going to break them. All right. So right now they're really flexible. You can do anything you want to them. But yeah, give it a week or so and you'll snap them right off.
So I guess you must have to be very careful taking the wire off.
Yeah, always be careful taking the wire off, and that's what some people cut it off. Some people, on small wire, I like to unwrap it, because if you go use a pair of wire cutters and your eyes aren't so good, you're going to end up cutting the branch off. So it's better if you can just undo the end of it and start carefully unwrap it around the smaller. Larger stuff that you can get a hold of and you can see, it's no problem. But yeah, that's the biggest issue of trying to cut the wire off when they're small wire.
What's the Nabari like on those?
Here's something about junipers. You don't really worry about the Nabari, okay? You, in fact, most of the best junipers I see in Japan, there's nothing. They just come straight. It looks like they've stuck a branch down the ground. There's no Nabari at all. There are some with it, but most of the nicest ones I've seen do not. So we don't worry about that. They could have good Nabari because when you do start it from cuttings, what makes it nice is they usually do get a nice radial root system. It's like air layering a tree. When you have a really nasty root system, you air layer, you get this really nice radial root system, and then you cut it off, and you've got a very nice Nabari. These, again, we don't really worry about it. And you wire it. Again, preparing the tree so that you can wire it makes it so much quicker. You can see me going through this fairly quickly with this wire. I've made a path, basically, through the tree to be able to put the wire on.
And could you maybe explain about the size of the trees, since we're doing kind of like a shohin size, for folks so they know what the different sizes are?
Yeah, so you can go mame, what a lot of people call them mame, M-A-M-E, mame, and those are up to 3 inches tall. And I see a lot of people advertising shohin trees as mame. No, anything under basically your finger. So if they got to be as tall as your finger. So, and then anything from 3 inches to 8, now 10, is shohin. And then anything, I have a lot of bigger trees too. You can go to the kifu, the chuhin, and there's other names for the rest of them, just like there's Japanese style names as well. But yeah, it's, you don't have to remember the Japanese names, but I think what's the chuhin, no, kifu. Kifu goes from the 8 or 10 inches all the way up to 16 inches, and there's a 16 to 24. You know, they kind of go that way. And I could pull them up on my phone and tell you what they are. I don't really worry about it because people don't really want to know that kind of stuff. So. Like this particular one, it's a informal upright, but in Japan they call them moyogi. Not Miyagi like Mr. Miyagi, but moyogi. Now maybe just a couple more pieces of wire and we'll have it done. I've got a couple stiffer branches I need to add some wire to. When I initially style a juniper, yes, I cut anything that's going straight up off and anything that's going straight down off. That way I can splay out the branches, get it really nice, kind of the direction of the primary branch and the secondary branches. As they develop, you let more come up on top of it. The branch will fill up because it's going to get more sunlight at this point, so it will actually start adding to the top of it, but it'll also come on the bottom. So it's okay to pinch the stuff off the bottom, like pull it off. On the top, you definitely want to cut it. So. Yeah. No. Right now I'm trying to get all the primary branches that I want on the tree are on here, so I'm trying to just get all those set. And you'll see when I get done with it here. But yeah, just try to get them set to the position that I want them in. So.
Is the trunk line already set? It's too late to do any wiring on the trunk. It's just about the branches.
That's why you don't see me coming up the trunk with it. So yeah, you could in theory bend that, but you'd have to have some pretty hefty wire, and it could be safely done. Probably some. There's all kinds of different. There's vet wrap. There's raffia. There's another thing that they've been using in Japan that they found out the strapping that they put over hoop huts works real well for that because it's got a nylon rope through it or a string through it, so it holds it really well. But you have to bind it really well and then put a sufficient sized wire to be able to bend it. But they may break inside, so if you do it without that raffia, it could break the branch and open it up and it'll dry out and die. So just putting that raffia or whatever on it, that will hold the moisture in and it will help it heal, because you're going to crack it, you're going to break some tissue in there, and that's the best way to do it. And I've made some really big bends on some trees, so we can bend the hell out. I mean, I had a Scots pine that I have at home, and Morrow Stemberger was there helping me. It's when he used to come help me work on my trees. But it's it's got a trunk probably this big, and it came up and went this way. And he said, I think it'd look better if we can put a curl in the top there. And we're talking the whole apex of the tree was that big around. We put number 4 wire on it, copper wire, which is a hefty wire. We put raffia on it. We put electrical tape on it. Another 4-inch wire, number 4 wire on it. And then he said, okay, stand there, and I'm going to pull the branch this way. So he actually turned it one way, and then he said, okay, you pull it your way. So he held it, and I pulled it this. So we actually put a curl in that. So instead of going up like this, it comes up and then makes this really nice little cool curl on the top. Again, branch that big, didn't lose a branch on it, didn't lose that, didn't crack it. It just worked so well. So that's how I got taught to do that kind of stuff.
When you put the curve in this trunk, how thick was it?
Oh, it was just like probably 1/4 inch in diameter. Yeah, that's the best time to get that curve in there. And you got to they're growing quick because I'm super feeding them, and that wire may not stay on even the whole year. Okay, they set very quickly when they're young. That'll help.
So in the years leading up to today, you were just wiring the trunk and letting it grow.
Yeah, and that happened years ago. Yeah, so.
Did you say you just did it one time?
Yeah.
And why do I not see marks from that wire?
That's why I say you got to keep an eye on it. Some people leave it on too long. I've been down at Brussels, and there's wire actually grown into the trunk sometimes. So you really have to but they have thousands of them, right? I have 100 or so.
So when you did it this one
Yes.
time, did you like give it elbow room, or you went in there and loosened it up as it was growing?
Just know what size of tree you want, because if you want a really tiny, tiny shohin or mame style, you want to make those bends really tight. I knew these were going to be this size, so I made them that size. So you wait till they get about, in the range I have them at home, about a foot tall. That's when you can put the movement in them. Okay.
Okay. So it was only on for a while?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Very.
form was set, but the form was...
Yeah, the trunk's set
Yeah.
after you do that, and yeah, it wasn't on. Yeah, probably not even a full season. So
When you wire those, did you just wire the trunk or did you?
just the trunk. I don't worry about the branches at all. Nope. And size-wise on the wire, so a good rule of thumb is 1/3 the diameter of the branch to be able to bend it. And then if you use aluminum, it's 1/2 the diameter. So, and again, you don't have to do that right away. If you know you're going to put a lot of different wires on it, and you know you have to come down like this when I have, basically 3 wires up here, 2 wires down here. And I knew I was going to go out to some of these other branches. That's why I used a smaller wire, because I knew I'd have to double up, triple up on it.
So you sell these like this?
Yeah. Yeah. When they get like this, the price significantly goes up. I sell the 6-inch ones right now for about $20 a piece, and then once I get the bend put in it, they're good. They move up to like $40 or $50 a piece. And again, the bigger the trunk gets, the more developed they are. Then
So something like this would run what?
150.
Okay.
Yeah. But once they're styled, you can sell them for $300 to $400. So.
Once they're styled, though, you don't want to sell it.
That's it right there, right? So that's the key. And that's why it's really hard to sell some trees. I sold one to Hank that I didn't really want to sell, but I sold it to him during the pandemic because I wanted to get it in the national show, and they didn't have it that year, right? It's 2020. So I got a hold of Hank. I said, if you want it, go ahead and take it. So he came over and got it. It's a really nice white pine with a cool twist in it. Just an incredible tree. But I can always get more. So that's what I did. So for you newbies, kind of the thing that you want to do is get, rule of thumb, first branch is on the left or the right, and then you go back and then the opposite side. So you want to have them on, branches on the outside of the curves, nothing on the inside of the curve. So things like that. So you go like this, for instance, left, back, right, left, back, right. And then you can have a front somewhere. I didn't have one to make that. I'm going to make this the apex of the tree. But if you have a front one about a third of the way up, you want the first branch coming out towards you. You don't want it coming out and be an eye poker is what they call them, but you want to have it coming from the front of the tree, whether you route it one way or the other, put a curve in it so it doesn't stick right straight out. But that's kind of a rule of thumb on that, of bonsai. But again, rules are made to be broken. They don't always have to be done that way. Like I've always said, there's no bonsai police, so whatever you want to do. If it looks good to you, keep it that way. I don't know, when Morrow, when you do take a workshop, you'd think there's bonsai police because he's on you. But
So how much is that going to fill out?
quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, if you let this go for a year, it will just be a solid bush again, right? So you have to keep it under control.
Maybe you might tilt that when you actually put it in a pot.
No,
No?
this is already tilted.
Okay.
Yeah, if I tilt something, I will tilt it when I style it.
Okay.
So I'll put a bag or a block underneath it and put it the position that I want it, and then I'll style the tree that way. That way, when you go to put it in a pot, it's already in. Uh-huh. But yeah, these are, again, they've been grown for bonsai, so they already have the branches where I want them. The trunk has already set the direction I want it, so don't have to do that.
When, in your mind's eye, did you set the style of that specific tree?
Oh, when I put the wire on, you kind of set where it's going to go. So, 4 or 5 years ago, when I put the wire on these, I know what they're look like. I mean, you could see it when I held it up, right? Once I cut the branches off. I should say, once I cleaned it up. So I was telling you about leaving little tiny branches, so like this guy. So there are some small branches I'm not going to wire, but they will become part of that apex later on. But we're just going to leave them right where they are for right now. Now, I'm just about done making a couple more cuts here, and it will be styled. Okay, so there it is. Okay. Oh, that's right.
So is that the front that you're just?
Yes,
camera on?
yeah, that's what I'm showing you. I can show you the back if you want. But front, it looks better from the front.
It's okay for the front to come forward that much?
Yeah, you want the front. So you want your trees leaning towards you.
Okay.
So you go to any exhibition, especially in Japan, it's almost way dramatic. Like if you go to the end of the aisle and look down, everything's kind of growing like that. So you want them, what they said in Japan, you want them to bow to you, right? So you want them coming towards you. And that's when I judge trees, when I judge a show, I try to get that in people's head, because inevitably a lot of people will lean them way back and then they'll bring some stuff forward. Yeah, I just judged the Michigan show earlier this year, and that you get a lot of that up there. So you don't really scold them for it, you just kind of tell them how it should be. So when I critique, I tell them what to do to make the tree better, so. Yep. Set time is. Oh shit. Yeah, I could get this done. No problem at all. Let me find the front here real quick. There. Okay.
Yeah, I can see the part that's coming forward, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, when I put the wire initially, that's the way you style them. So all of them have some type of lean to them. The other thing a lot of people here in the U.S. care about is reverse taper. They think that's a really bad thing and they don't want any part of it, don't want it on their tree at all. But again, you go into Japan and some of the best trees I saw had severe reverse taper. So, yeah.
So, what's reverse?
It's where it may have a really tiny trunk and it comes up and gets really big and then it gets small again, So whether it be a scar tissue or where at one time it came up and had several different branches and they eliminated a couple, so there's this big area Pines do it a lot too, where they'll come up and make a whorl. So there'll be a lot of branches in one spot. So yeah, that is a feature over there. You just use that for a feature. You can peel it down. You can cut pieces off of it, carve it out to make it a better taper. But in general, they just, like I said, some of the best trees I saw over there had it.
Mark, the reason is people are trying to create like a American bonsai identity.
They're trying to get that perfect taper all the way up the tree, right? Instead of getting anything reverse, anything out of order. But yeah, a lot of junipers especially you will see with the reverse taper on them. So. Oh, does anybody else want to style? I can go sit down if somebody else wants to style it. That'll work out well too. See if what I taught you, how that worked out.
Yeah.
Again, the reason I'm doing this one, kind of giving you, that's right on the inside of a curve. I don't want that. I could reroute it going the other way or something like that, but to me, I just make gin out of it, right?
Do you do a gin on every one?
On junipers, I try to. Gin and shari on every one. I try to put it with something like that. Again, creates that illusion of age, makes them look a little bit older and rougher. And
Hey Mark, how do you overwinter your Shimpaku?
on top of the ground, not outside. Yeah, so I've got benches in my bonsai garden. Have you been over? You've been over my place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the bonsai benches in my bonsai area. So I've got 6-foot privacy units all around it. Then I have blocks piled up, and then I have 3-tier benches, 2 here and then one taller. So tallest one's about here. So what I do is take the benches off, pile them up on top, and then I just stick them in there. I'm sorry, I take one of them off and put it along the side to kind of keep everything under that bench. So I'll set it on the outside not upright, but on edge, and then I will put blocks, some of the concrete blocks there to hold it. And then I just put all those trays of the 6-inch in there, the 1 gallons, everything. I just pile them in there. And yeah, when I went out this winter, there was some, you couldn't even see them. They were so covered with snow and everything else. So, and they always do well. Even my cuttings, I don't put them inside at all. The cuttings that I make, I usually stick them when I'm working on them this time of year. So I usually get 50 to 100 of them. And I will put them on top of the ground right in that same area. So I like a square tray with pumice or the spin akadama in it. And a story about that, well, and it happened this year again too, but a couple of years ago, it was wild because I pulled this tray out of the cuttings, and they had been pulled up, and they were just all laying in like almost a pattern, like it had been a nest for a rabbit or something, whatever. But they were all pulled out and whirled, but they were still green. So I stuck all those back in again, and they all rooted. So who knows how long they were out, but they're completely dormant in the wintertime, And but they stayed green. Didn't have one of them die. Now my nicer specimens I do keep in my cold huts. I don't heat them. I just put them on the floor with the white poly over the top just to keep the wind off of them. They still get cold.
Do you water them?
That's a good question, because I will water them initially, like when I put them all away, first week in November, I water everything. Then I spray everything down with lime sulfur, 1 to 10, right, parts of lime sulfur. So that's a good fungicide, but it's also a good insecticide. So I do that twice during the winter, once in November, and I do it in January again. So I don't normally have to water in those huts again until January. if we start warming up, we get a sunny day or something like that. But most of the time, you can go in there during the day and there's water dripping from the roof because the humidity is so high in there, like from the membrane, the plastic inside. And yeah, they do just fine that way. And so I keep another area where I keep my shohin trees. I divided the hut and had half of it, the back half I put a small milk house heater in, and I double insulate it. So I put a clear poly, and then I have my shade cloth on the outside, and then I put the white poly over that, and I have a storm door inside of my hut. So that area is completely secure. It's 10 by 10, shelves in there, and I put the concrete mixing tubs, the black mixing tubs full of pumice or turfus or whatever to sink the pots down into, and that's where I put all my shohin trees. And I put a small milk house heater and a fan in there and keep it right at 35 degrees. I don't want it to get any lower than 35. So then nothing freezes, but it still gets cold. So they still go through the dormancy just fine, and that's worked really well for me.
The garage might work.
The garage is what I used to use, and I lost so many trees doing that.
Really?
But I know people, that's all they can do. They don't really have a hut, and if that's all you have, that's what you have. So it works. I just lost a lot of trees doing it that way.
When you're initially making cuttings of your juniper.
Yes.
Do you like also put like a canopy of plastic or anything? To
No.
keep moisture in there?
No. No. I just potted up a dozen of the fudos that I started in March, stuck in March. They had complete root systems on them. And no, they're just sitting out in the open. I'd never had those inside of a hut at all. I just had them sitting out on the bench, and I'd stuck them. We got freezes and thaws, and they did just fine.
Sunlight or shade? Or?
Yeah, they're in full sun.
Huh,
Yeah,
okay.
full sun. So
You can just put the cuttings in like nursery soil and like they figure it out from there. Like,
pretty much you can start them in about anything. You kind of want smaller granules, so that's why I say the spent akadama works really well, because a lot of the akadama is broken down, and everything roots really well in that. It stays moist, yet it still has the pumice in it, so it stays open, so it's not going to get clogged up and sit in water. So yeah, that's what I do. Okay, so we're going to make a cool feature here on this one. So I'm going to gin this whole part right that you see right here, because I see this is the tree. I could very well make this the tree and gin this part, but this is what I see at this point. So we'll make kind of a double gin here. I've used these for workshops for years as well, and I'm trying to switch it up a little bit this year. Like I normally would have done a workshop with these here, but a lot of people, a lot of the clubs I go to are getting tired of seeing them. I mean, they always fill up, but they want something different. So I've started using Ely Agnes, Japanese maples, trident maples, stuff like that. So just to switch it up a little bit.
When's your next workshop?
On Saturday here.
Saturday here?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Sorry.
And then the next one after that's in Chicago, and then the next one after that's in Elkhart, Indiana. I'm one of the headliners up there for that show. I think there's who's judging the Cincinnati show this year?
Jennifer Price, I think.
Yeah.
Jennifer Price is okay. I know that had been something that you guys have been asking me for years, and I always had a gig over in Springfield. They ended that after 10 years because people were getting tired of seeing my face over there. So they said they wanted to get somebody different now. It was always full, and people kept bringing back the same trees, so it was a perfect workshop for me. But I understand, and I'm completely fine with it. So if you need somebody for next year, I'm open for that now. Because I think every year you've asked me, I said, sorry, I can't, I'm already booked down there.
Is the workshop Saturday full?
Pardon me?
Is the workshop Saturday full?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We have quite a few more cuttings now.
Can you talk about the soil that you've been growing it in so far and then what you would change it to now that it's style?
Yeah, so the soil that I have the most of, and it's the cheapest to make, and a lot of people just call it club soil. So it's 1 part composted pine bark fines, 1 part turfus, 1 part either lava or haydite. It's a good mix. I don't like having organics in my soil. So like I said, when I get them started in it, it's a great nursery mix. It's a great potting mix for growing these on like this. But when I get them into a bonsai pot, I want them in the Akadama blend. So that's why I'm trying to, I have all of the 6-inch pots now. All of them are in the waste Akadama. And I've got enough to pot them into 1 gallons with most of that as well. So that's what I'm going to try to keep them in from now on. I start them in the Akadama blend, and I just take them all the way through. They grow just fine in this, no problem at all. But I like the Akadama as a bonsai. It works really well for moisture retention, and it still dries out enough. And it's just the best soil to use.
So when you start your cuttings,
Yes.
do you use any growth hormone?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I don't use that at all. So I've tried experiments where I've done a pot of them with rooting hormone, and a pot of them, they do the same damn thing. Yeah, there's nothing, no difference at all. So.
So when you initially plant your cuttings,
Mhm.
you put them underneath the bench or anything, or just put them right in the sun?
Yeah, for the junipers, yeah. Yeah. Now, some of the house plants and stuff, I should say house plants, tropical trees I start, deciduous trees and stuff, yeah, I will put, like Japanese maple, I will actually put a plastic cover over the top of the container. Choji by quince, I do that with. But other stuff I just put in the shade and they do just fine. Just make sure you don't let them dry out. But these are fine. These are just so easy to root. Like I said, I get hundreds of them every year. And I'd written an article about that subject for the, I used to be president of the American Bonsai Society, so I wrote an article, several articles, but one of them was on Itoigawa, on starting junipers from cuttings and taking them on through to shohin trees. And in that I explained that, and it's funny because there was a guy that had been trying to start juniper cuttings for decades, could never get one to work. So he read what I did, and then he actually called me because he wanted to get clarification because nothing had ever worked for him. But he called me back the next week. He said, I just want you to know I've got like 50 rooted cuttings now. I've never been able to do that before. And just explaining it in the book and then him calling me. Yeah, so he even sends me a thank you every year because he's got more and more of them every year. So.
So do you root cuttings for your maples as well?
Yeah, yep.
So how do you do that?
Again, yeah, actually cuttings this time of year do pretty well. And she's more successful than I am at it, so you ask her. Because I can root them, but she can root them so much better. They have better everything, conditions and places to root than I do. I get by with what I have. I take plastic bonsai pots and I put the medium in there, and that's what I root them in inside my middle hut. I don't have, I mean, she does a really good job of it. So Stephanie?
I tried them. I like doing cuttings this time of year.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
It is, yeah.
You just, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
This is the best time of year.
You're going to be more successful this time of year than you would any other time. Yeah.
Now, when you run into things that you really want, you get a hold of, September, October, you can do it.
Yeah.
Early spring, you can do it.
Yes.
You don't get the results that you get this spring.
Right.
I hate that it's gotten into the 90s like this.
Yeah.
But, you know, you mix the water, you do all in this environment. It's not on the product.
You're just talking Japanese maples, right?
Wait.
Just Japanese maples you're talking about? right?
No, you can do Korean.
Everything.
Yeah. Basically anything.
What kind of missing watering schedule are you doing daily?
Oh, we miss like maybe every hour the first 2 weeks of every dinner.
And you say you do it by hand, you don't have a timer or anything like that?
Dibble water, dibble mist, I'll miss, a couple of the other people who were working for us, they walked into that house, they missed.
Yeah.
Your misting schedule changes tremendously.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And we've had 2 really dry days back to back, so we've really been.
Yeah. Like last week, it was wonderful because I didn't have to order my shohin for days at a time, and now it's 2 to 3 times a day. So.
Oh, it was way too
Yeah. Just the past couple days, it's been that way.
So how much greenery do you want to leave on a cutting?
Oh, like I said, these things work perfectly just like that. So,
How big can you get store cuttings?
you know, I found that even larger ones root better than the smaller ones do. So, you know, stuff this size will root just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like half the size of a pencil.
Yeah, or size of a pencil. I've done them size, you know, probably inch and a half in diameter before, and they root. So, yep, no problem.
The rooting medium that we use for this again is what?
I just use the waste. So when I repot my trees, like,
Yeah.
you know, I have tons of waste akadama, right? But to me, it's still got solid particles in it. I just sift it out, get rid of the roots and any of the foliage that's in it, and it works fine. It works fine to put stuff in.
If you were to do a cutting of, say, that
Yeah,
upper half,
yeah.
you would probably get rid of what, half of that foliage? Or
Yeah, you want to
75%?
strip the bottom of it, right? You do want
Right.
to, yeah, strip it down. Yeah.
But I mean, something has to support the greenery in the meantime until it gets roots, right?
No. You're getting moisture from the air. Junipers get most of their moisture from the humidity in the air. When they're growing in the wild, they get the mist in the morning, the rain, not the rain, but the dew. That's how they get a lot of their water. So pines and junipers have the ability to use that water take in water through their foliage. So,
When you water them, then do you water the tops of the plants or just the?
yeah, I do. When I water my trees, I water it all over, yeah. Not necessarily during the day. Not that I've had any problems, issues with burning the foliage, because people say, oh yeah, the water droplets will, you know, magnify the sunlight going through that and it'll burn them. I've never had that happen. Never had that happen. So I don't mind doing that. But yeah, definitely when I water at 6 or 7 in the evening, I soak the whole tree. Yeah, so right now I'm spot watering in the morning when I come out. Things that have dried out overnight, which doesn't happen. Again, we've been fairly humid. So the past couple of days I've had to do that. And then I water around noon or 1 o'clock, and then I water at 6 or 7 o'clock. So, and that's not everything. It's just the stuff that needs it. And you can get a feel for that the longer you do this. Like the junipers and the pines you're not gonna water them during the day at all, even though they look bone dry. I just water them once in the evening, and sometimes it'll be just a splash, because some trees, such as white pines on their own roots, they hate water. And if you water them like you do everything else, it's gonna die within just a few months. That's why I like them grafted on black pines, because when I'm watering everything, I'm inevitably going to get just on autopilot, just watering everything, and I'll soak one down. It's like shit, and you can't leave when you get rainstorms. You have to bring them into the greenhouse to where they're not going to get the rain. Yeah, I've lost several over the years. I have one right now that I bought by mistake. I bought it at Brussels. I didn't know it wasn't grafted until I got it home.
So your shohin trees, do you keep them on a tray with pumice or something?
In the winter time. So that's a good question too. So this time of year, I have them in the middle hut. I've got wooden bent, I've got the plastic shelves, and I put indoor-outdoor carpeting on the top of that. And then I got bricks, and I'll make a second tier with wood, and I put indoor-outdoor carpet on top of that. So when you're watering the trees, you're soaking that carpet, increases the humidity in the whole place. So everything stays wetter longer. Now, you will get them root out of the pots into the carpet. I'll go to pull one up, and you pull the carpet up with it. So you have to be very careful and keep a pair of scissors after I cut those out. So at the end of the year, I've got several of them because I'm not moving them, especially this year because I'm not really showing anything. I will have about half the trees will be rooted into that carpet, which is fine. I just toss it out every year and get new. But I know people who have big trays and put pea gravel, and that's why I used to do pea gravel. Again, turfus or the pumice, either one. That's why I keep them in the winter time. I just sink the pots in the turfus or the pumice.
How deep do you sink them?
Oh, I just sink the pot, and some of them aren't even all the way in. Just sink them a little bit. And during the winter time, they will root into that as well. So you go to pull them up in the spring, you got roots going every place. So. I'm trying to carve another shari here on the front. I let it make its own path, but you got to help it a little bit sometimes. And this time of year, it strips very easily. You try this during the fall and the winter, it's really attached tight because they've kind of sucked all the moisture down in the roots, and it's really tough to get through this. So in the springtime, the bark, the cambium and the bark under the bark plumps up, and it makes it really easy to separate it. Oh, sorry. Probably hearing the tree screaming through that microphone right now. Stop!
Are you going to be splitting the trunk?
Not on this one, nope. I do that.
What is it you're doing now?
I'm just creating the shari, so I'm pulling the bark off from the branch this came from, so it no longer needs this live vein to keep it alive. So I pull it down, yeah, to again, create that illusion of age, make it look a little bit older. And
Can you explain how you find the vein?
yeah, again, it finds itself. So once you strip the bark off of this and you start stripping it down, it makes its own path. So I try to do that. I'll use this side to show you. So this one here, I didn't do this side yet, but you can see I've got it down to that point. So I'll just start pulling the bark, and it makes its own path, see, all the way down. So you know where the path is, so you'll keep starting it again. Like I'll widen it and then start it again. So that's going to be on the back side, so I'm not going to take it all the way down. I'll just take it to there. So that way, I'll take this on down to the base here. Because it is on the front of the trunk and it is a feature. Now, if I'm going to show it, yes. But most of the time, juniper wood, pine wood, it all has a preservative in it to keep that wood from rotting. So, and you can see that in nature if you go out in the woods. If you go out, especially if you go out to like went at the Grand Canyon a few years ago, and some of the wood on those junipers out there, the Utah junipers, is ancient, 1,000 years old, and it's this old weathered wood, and that's kind of what you want it to look like. It's not pure white like a lot of the shows that they have it in. So I like it to be a little bit more grayed out, and I don't normally even put any on it unless I know I'm going to show that tree within that year. So, but normally they're just gray like everything else.
If you do that, what's the process for it?
So this wood, it's for the dead wood only, and you put the line, so I half and half, dilute it half and half with water, so 1 to 1 with water. And you brush it on, and the tree, the old wood, so you don't want to do it, I think you want the tree to dry out, or the wood to dry out for about 6 weeks before you put it on there. So you wouldn't do it immediately. But again, if you just wait till you show, it's the best thing to do. So you brush it on, definitely wear a pair of glasses, safety glasses, because it burns really bad when it gets in your eyes. I know, I've had it I've had it go around the glasses to get in my eye, and it burns like fire. But it works, it really does.
What is the India ink in it?
It's lime sulfur.
Lime salt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you put some India ink in it?
Yeah, you can to darken it up, absolutely. That gives it more of a gray appearance rather than, and I've seen somebody do it all white, and then they'll go back in with some dilute lime sulfur with India ink in it to make, some of the areas darker than others, like deeper areas and things like that. That's the way I like to see it. It looks much more natural that way, rather than just being all bone white, bleached bone white. So. How much time do I have?
15 minutes.
Okay,
And last call if you want raffle tickets.
take this as far as I can then, because I see another gin up here, 10 gin we were talking about, so. And if I don't get it finished here, I'll finish it at home, because you guys are going to keep that one. Lincoln, he's got something for you. Yeah, did you see it? Okay. All right, good. So did you show us a bunch of your orchids and stuff?
I had a hunk of the greenhouse roof blow off in March.
Oh, no.
So it's a project. Orchids had to go into the house and everything outside. So
Oh, my gosh.
it's been fun.
I can't imagine, yeah. Wow.
Well, it's really, the trick is finding a contractor who is willing to
Yeah.
do that kind of work.
Yes, and that'd be rare this time. Yeah, these times.
I think I'm making some progress now. At this point, I'll be happy to get everything back in before frost.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. Are you going to have it done before then?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I stopped using, because I have a 24 by 12 hut, and then I have a 10 by 20 hut. So the 24 by 12 is really tall, so I would save that poly after one winter and try to reuse it on the smaller one. And about, gosh, it's probably been 10 years ago, one windy, it was in the middle of winter, it was below zero, and I look out and that plastic had split in the middle and was blowing, and yeah, luckily it's all evergreen, so it didn't hurt anything, but oh my gosh. So I went to, what is it? One of the big box stores and grabbed a tarp and covered the whole thing, threw concrete blocks on it, and just went back, and I was freezing my butt off. But yeah, I hate when that happens. So I use new poly every year now. I don't even mess with it.
yeah, I would think it would degrade with the UV.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And you can get a longer lasting poly. I just thought I'd get another year out of it, and it did not work. And it split right at one of the folds, like perfect line. Looks like somebody took a razor and cut it. But when it gets cold, it gets brittle, and it's going to break like that. I did bring bundles of copper wire back there too. There are 6 different sizes, and they're $60, so it's like $10 a roll. And it is really good annealed wire. One of my students makes it up for me. So, Black Magic Bonsai wire.
I have a huge thing of used wire to, recycle. Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no Bonsai and Lifeless. No, actually with the way the prices are, recycling should, be worth it to somebody, but,
Yeah, 5-gallon bucket last fall was $100. If you tamp it down, a 5-gallon bucket's a copper, $100. Yep.
yeah, it's got a great big sack of it that,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've accumulated over a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now what do I do with this?
No, I get about a bucket a year, so a 5-gallon bucket a year. So I take it every fall and cash it in. That and aluminum is the same thing. Aluminum is not worth hardly anything, but that copper, it's worth even more now. So I'm sure I'll do better this next time I go.
So I had a ton of terracotta pots that had no use for it. And getting the back end of the greenhouse cleaned out, I ended up cleaning those up and getting the Habitat Restore took them to resell.
Yeah.
And so funny looking guys come every couple of weeks, take another load.
Yep.
And that worked out well.
Yeah, Lincoln ended up taking some old pots that I had like that. They had algae and stuff growing on. He'd used a pressure wash on them. It made them look brand new. Brand new.
Oh, well, I didn't. I just use it's like cleaning vinegar. Or
Yeah, you can do that too.
It
He didn't
eats
use just water. What he used on it, and they came out just brand new.
Yeah. Well, I was going to toss them out, and then I looked at online at the what they're selling them for at the Home Depot, and I thought,
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Not dumpsterize these.
Yeah, yeah. Even little 4-inch pots are like $3 or $4 now. I like to find those at garage sales or people getting rid of them.
Yeah. Well, I had some that are like 15
Oh yeah, the big guys.
12,
Now, are they the
15
good Tokoname ones, where they have the glazed rim?
Yeah.
Those are the good ones. Those are worth a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I still use those, but
Yeah.
the other.
I'm just talking about the regular terracotta that aren't fully vitrified and stuff. They'll
Yeah.
break apart if you leave them outside. That's the ones I've been getting for some of the cactus is what I keep them in. So,
Yeah.
and I couldn't believe how much they've gone up. But I've got a bunch of the Tokoname ones. And they were cheap. In Japan they're about equals out to about $1 an inch on them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I went to Tokonami this year. I took 2 of my students with me. They'd never been there. I was just going to stick up in the Tokyo area, but when they went along with me, we went down to Kyoto. We went to Tokonami, and in Tokonami, I went to the store. I hadn't been in there in 9 years. That was the cool part because I walked up there and they said, "Mark-san, welcome back." And it's cool. They remembered me. So I got a bunch of pots and they started packing them up. I said, "Can you send them to my house?" They said, "Nope, we can't send them." Are you kidding me? We can box them up and we'll put handles on them. You can carry them. They were heavy. So, but they couldn't do it because of the 25% tariff. They said, "We're not going to do that to you. So if you want them, you carry them home." So I bought an extra suitcase, put 1 box on each of the suitcases, had to pay the extra fee because they were way too heavy. But I got them back. But yeah, just for him to remember me, that was awesome. But I did get him a lot of business. Like Weigerts use them now, and they get containers full of them in every year. Pedro Morales I introduced them to him too. So the broker over there, it was very appreciative because I got him a lot of business. I don't get that many. I just get, 30 to 50 pots at a time. Shohin pots.
Well, it's interesting. They glaze just the top rim.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think they do
I
that?
don't know. I need to ask that question. Because you go some of the places, they're not done that way. They're just plain old terracotta look. They're still vitrified. I mean, you can still plant stuff in them outdoors. But where I get them, there at that place, the broker there in Tokonami, they're all glazed on that rim.
Well, I thought maybe that was to make it easier to clean off the scale.
And it would, right? Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I like the look of it.
Here's what it looks like.
Yep.
Good night.
Tokonami.
Very nice.
I didn't need any more pots, but since I was there, I can't not buy any, you know? So,
If you see one you like, you gotta get it, because you might not see another one.
exactly. And some of them, if they had multiples, I bought a couple that were just incredible, you know? So, yeah, you always see something that, because they're a broker for all, you know, Koyo and Yamaaki, even Yamaaki went out in 2004, but they still have a warehouse full of pots. So they're constantly getting those in. If you go up, the shohin pots are downstairs, and you go upstairs and there's all the other size pots up there. And again, super reasonable price, super reasonable price. You tell me when we're done. 5 minutes? Ah, let's get some wire. Speed wiring, we're gonna do it.
I did.
And everything's super thin, so I can use the 14.
No, seriously. I didn't have a pop that big, so I didn't pay $150 for a pop.
Does it usually take you about an hour to do a tree?
Yeah, it depends on the size tree. These, yeah, right about an hour. What I plan on. I've taken up to 12 on some of my big trees. It's not really work to me though, because I just get into it and I enjoy it so much, and yeah, I just keep on going on it. I'll miss lunch, I'll miss dinner. Sometimes it'll start getting dark outside. It's like, shit, where'd the day go? But that's just what I like to do. And it spreads too.
What?
It spreads, it
Oh, heavens, I
multiplies
know.
like crazy.
Well, Julie wanted some, so
Yeah.
I dug some out today to bring her
Yeah.
some, and she's not here.
Oh. No, I've got some miniature that only gets this tall.
Really?
I use them as accent plant. Green leaves. Beautiful.
That's a good idea.
Were you going to be at the workshop on Saturday?
No.
No. Well, I could have brought you some. So much for that.
No, unfortunately.
No, I got a start of it years ago off of Jim Doyle. He had some growing at his place.
Oh, he just had a wind bed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Oh,
I
yes.
can't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some huge trees come down and broke off tree, you know, snapped specimen trees. Yeah, I can't imagine. But knowing Jim, he was just very calm about it. You know, he doesn't get upset about anything. Nothing really rattles him at all.
You just went in the yard,
Yeah, that's what he did. Probably meditated in there.
Sometimes
Yeah.
took some deep breaths.
Yep.
Light some,
Now he does do that. Helps him out. He does take deep breaths of.
yeah, here it is. Yeah, I should have, really,
Should get salted.
sort of make it just a little.
Yeah, I always look at them and they're always full.
Yeah.
I don't,
You want me to plug in?
I sign up for the, I never do. I never know when. So I check this website.
I can always see
Which
one are we raffling off? That one? Okay. I like that one.
Now, this one's not done. You could raffle it too, but
sell trees online and ship them?
I don't like shipping them, but I do. But yeah, I do. I don't really sell them online, but if you want something, I've had people get a hold of me, hey, can you send me pictures of this and this? I don't like that. I like for people to come get them. But I sent a big rain tree up, Brazilian rain tree up to Michigan.
How far of drive is it from here?
From my place, 2 hours.
2 hours?
2 hours exactly, yep.
If you drive like five.
Yeah, if you drive like, no. But at night, I know I can get home in an hour and 45 minutes, so.
It's an easy drive.
It is, yeah.
Did you bring extra trees?
Just those, I've got 4 more of these back there. And they're some are taller, some are, yeah. I think all of them are taller than these. No, there's one just like this over there, as a matter of fact. So.
Hey, Phil, I brought these for Julie and she's not here. If anybody wants them,
Okay.
they may have. Solomon Field. You don't want to take them back home? Well, no.
I do not.
You do not, are you sure?
I've got like,
You can put them out there.
I've got 2 humongous clumps of those right now.
They keep invading.
Oh, they
my
do.
hostas.
Yeah. Luckily, I have a place they can just take over if they want to have some iris at one end and those are at the other end, and they're just crazy.
Well, they're sort of.
Who's winning the Iris or?
Nobody seems to want to get.
Well, somebody, you know, they put them up on the table and they keep them in there.
Okay, you may, I don't care. I mean, I have so many at home, I don't need them to take them back. I saw them. See, they had little white flowers. See these, where these are.
Yeah, I had a volunteer, which showed up in my garden. Saw this fall.
Really?
Yeah, I actually got 2 of them in 2 different places. And I don't know if they, you know, the squirrels have a sense of humor and they plan to do it. Where they came from. It's so cool. Landscaping squirrels, right? But, yeah, it's totally weird. Get a paper towel and rub it.
I bought this. This stupid like $3 little truck that goes. She put it in a box. Like this is like her Christmas or something. We haven't thought twice about it. Like we're sitting in I guess something hit the button. Now it's beautiful. I just go womp, womp, womp. It's like an alarm, you know. And we thought it was my laptop. Like the battery died. They just went, I was just like, oh, you know. I was like, why did it make fun of us when the battery died? I was like, just, I gotta get
Do I get the honor?
You do.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody need to put in their stubs? Everybody got their stubs in? Okay. Mark is going to do the honors.
Okay.
Are we doing both?
You want to buy another tree?
Not really.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That one right there.
All right. So we've got this last 3 numbers are 590.
Congratulations.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. If you want a picture of us together, we can do that
Did you
too.
mark the front on this for him?
You can tell right
I
Going
can tell
towards
him. And you can tell
there.
him.
He can too. He was at the
All right,
lecture.
all right, that's true.
Yeah.
You were paying attention.
Yeah, it's like looking at right at you.
Right. There you go. So if you got somebody If I haven't, you got a camera you want to take a picture?
I got one.
Okay,
and I
let's
can
do
use
that.
your camera and
Yep.
take one as well.
Oh. Yeah, so before we do it again, right?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Great.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And then I want to get one for
Okay.
the club.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so we've got it, so we can post it on the website. Congratulations, that's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'm just about done with this real quick, so let me get. And I knocked $25 off of the club, so it's 125. So. Yep. All right.
We got some water. Okay. Oh, that's true. Can I borrow your shoulder, Joe?
What do you need? Oh, okay, sure.
I guess he could take his choice too. You want either one of them? Yeah, look at this one. You may want this one instead.
How many tickets do you
He said you could choose between the two.
I would call
Got a lot of photos. I mean, I feel like
Yeah, so there's that one. We got the before pictures, guys.
Nice.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you.
Cards, Wesley?
I do not, but I can